your mind.
Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 27th of December 2015. And on tonight's show, it's an unofficial show we call the Open Mic Session, where we just go through, we do the annual review of the people that we've interviewed over the year. And obviously we have the Skype open and we have the phone lines open. So before we go on and talk about things, we're going to pass over to Steve, and Steve will tell us all about how you can call in and have a chat with us, or if there's any questions you want to ask us. Steve?
Yes, well, the first thing I'll do, as is customary, I'll throw it over to Mary first of all and see what she says.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary, and a Merry Christmas to you. Yes, 046 927 1212 is the number for the studio this evening. So if you want to ring in, not if you want to ring in, but we want you to ring in. We want people to ring in and just shoot the breeze for a couple of minutes and maybe just swap some pleasantries and have a little drink, a wee dram and a bit of Christmas pudding or something. Anyway, 046 927 1212 is the number if you want to ring in from outside the Republic of Ireland. It's 00353 469 271212. We also have the chat room as well, oamradio.com. You will see the link for the chat room. I'm going to say hi to everyone who's in there already, and we're also going to be checking out People's Internet Radio chat room as well. So a very, 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 very happy Christmas to everybody on both of the chat rooms there. And what else have we got? We have Facebook. We probably won't be monitoring Facebook during the show, but it's there anyway for you to check out, maybe, well, during the show or after the show or whenever. And the TuneIn Radio Link app as well on your smartphone or your iPhone or your Android device or whatever. That's also there as well, as we say every week. So yeah, that's all bases covered. So just waiting for the phone to ring now.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, as we say, this is the kind of unofficial open mic session for Christmas, because we've just got over the Christmas. We've got the stuffy. I was going to say
the what?
Mixing the turkey and the stuffing. I was going to call it a stuffy. The turkey stuffed.
The stuffy.
The stuffy. Okay. The turkey stuffed, and you had the dinner, and you had the obligatory sleeping after the Christmas meal and everything else, and you know,
Jordan for some of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be done, as we get older, has to get done. So I hope you had a good Christmas, and the next thing now coming up, obviously, shortly is the New Year. And, well, I won't be going too mad. I don't know about you, Steve. I won't be doing any drinking or anything like
I'd say I'll have a little bottle of something, Small bottle of something. No, there's a little bottle of, well, we don't like to promote products, but let's just say there's a little bottle of cream liqueur that's in the press, just waiting to be poured over some ice.
Right, okay, so that's your New Year's Eve drink.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, just again, just a couple of things. Obviously, we're well aware of the weather conditions that's going on at the moment. We have all the flooding that's going on in the UK. There's going to be even more this week. Hurricane Frank, I think, is going to be, or Storm Frank, I should say, is going to be coming in, and it's going to be, again, loads of water, loads of rain, everything else. So even though they're doing the big clean-up at the moment, it's obviously going to happen again. I don't get Irish news, so I don't know what's going on in Ireland, but I know they had some flooding down in the south of Ireland. Do you know anything about that, Steve?
Unfortunately, no. Probably for the same reason as you. I don't really kind of tune in, I don't listen. The only reason I knew that there was a lot of flooding and how bad it was in the UK was yesterday evening, as I said to you just before we came on. We were out visiting yesterday. We went to visit my father and my sister yesterday, and we stayed over in my dad's house. So we were watching some of the Christmas TV, and normally we don't really pay much attention to TV, but I was just saying to Alan, we watched one program which I actually used to quite enjoy a long time ago, called The Two Ronnies, and anyone of a certain age will remember The Two Ronnies. But seven advert breaks during that TV show, and I just thought, wow, I'm glad I don't watch TV, because the amount of ads was just driving me demented. It really was. But then after that particular show was over, he switched on Sky News, and we sat there then for a period of time watching Sky News, and looking at all the footage from around the country of the floods, and so people were talking about the floods and their homes are flooded and their businesses are flooded, all the rivers that burst their banks and all. It just seemed like it was surreal. I mean, you hear of it happening, but and what's happening. We know what happens. It goes on every day.
Yeah.
But we've seen the footage there, and it was very surreal. It was. But to think that there are people over here going through the same thing, I don't think it's as bad over here. And when they done the weather forecast on Sky News, they were kind of predicting more of the same for today. I think it could have been the southeast or southwest. I can't remember of Great Britain, and they just seemed to be in for a terrible time. But they didn't really say much about Ireland. But I know there has been some flooding in Ireland. I think it was down south. But
Bandon.
I think
Bandon and Cork.
That's in Cork, yeah.
Well,
do we have any listeners in Cork?
I don't know. They should ring in and let us know. If anybody knows about the flooding down in Ireland or down in Cork, just give us a ring and let us know. Yeah,
or even just fire us off something on the chat room as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as bad down the south as it is in the UK. So, obviously our thoughts are with the people over there. And the sad thing is that in the back of my mind, I just keep thinking, it's not Mother Nature. This is not Mother Nature. I firmly believe that this is engineered.
Well, Steve's turned up in a T-shirt tonight.
Yeah.
And that goes to show you how warm it is. Well, mind you normally wear a T-shirt when it's -1 anyway. But
I know, but it's very mild out tonight.
Yeah.
It is. It's
and
really mild.
Even the temperatures in the UK, they said I think London was 15 and we're going to have 8. It's unheard of. Now, obviously with all the flooding that's going on, over in America they had all the tornadoes, and people have died with the tornadoes, and then they have the forest fires over in California, there's flooding in Argentina. 150,000 people have been affected by the flooding over in Argentina, and I believe there's fires in Australia as well. And you have to ask yourself, for all this that's going on, and the temperatures and everything else, it must be got to do with geoengineering. There must be something going on. This is just unnatural. We haven't had this before. And although there's kind of a lot of biblical predictions based on weather patterns and things going on, I'm not saying that that's the case, but a lot of people would be probably looking at that and saying, well, maybe there's something in it, maybe that's it. But we also know that they use geoengineering and HARP technology as well. Why they're doing what they're doing, I don't know if they are, but it's definitely having a major effect.
It is. As I said to you this morning, you noticed it too. As I say, we were down in Dublin. Alan was up here on Walton's Mountain, and I noticed when I was out the back there this morning again. This is about 9:30 in a T-shirt, and there's a lot of chemtrails in the sky already up there. And I noticed three planes, obviously all going in different directions, and they were spraying at 9:30 this morning. And I'd say if it wasn't for them, it would have been a nice morning. The sun was actually trying to make a little appearance, and Alan said it's pretty much the same up our neck of the woods as well. So, they're still at it anyway. They obviously don't even want to take a break for Christmas. Maybe the last thing they want us to do is see the sun, or whatever it is allegedly sitting beside the sun.
Well, I do believe, and I've heard this from a few people, that they do still think they're in control and running the shop and everything else. But at the end of the day, their back's against the wall, and they're speeding up everything. They're trying to throw the kitchen sink at us, everybody globally, that they are doing their best to get what they want in, because so many people are waking up en masse. It's unbelievable how time is flying, how fast it is, how people are waking up. You come across people who you wouldn't believe are waking up, and they're waking up. And we met one of our listeners last week. Hello, Adam, and Adam's wife. And Adam and his wife, obviously, Adam and his wife are very well open-minded in what's going on. And we had a great chat about things. And it's great to see so many people that you come across, and obviously speak to listeners as well, being open-minded and just questioning things. You don't have to believe the information. You just, you can entertain it. You don't have to believe it, but just to question it and go, okay, I want to question this. I'm not going to believe what they're saying, so I want to question it. And it's great to see more and more people doing that. So, well done to everybody who's doing that. And that's what our job is. I mean, apart from service to others, is to wake people up, is to show them the information or talk to them about the information and get them asking questions, at least get them to ask questions as best we can. Now, talking about, sorry.
So I just want to say, I think you're right. Get people to ask questions. We're not saying you should start telling them that, the end is nigh and the crap's going to hit the fan and everything is bad. Because the last thing we want to be doing is spreading the old fear porn, because like what people's internet radio do, and we like to do here as well, is we look for solutions. So therefore we have to identify the problem and let people know, well, hang on a second, you may not be aware there is a problem, here's the problem, but here are some solutions to that problem as well. So when you wake people up, the last thing you want to do is wake someone up and then, put them in a state of fear. We don't want that.
No, exactly. Just get them to question. That's really it. Get them to question what they're being told. That's what we need to do. It's just funny that they always find the money for the wars, but they don't find the money to help the people. And it's getting more and more obvious as time goes on. How's your week, Steve?
Yeah, my week's been fine. As I say, it's been Christmas week, so I haven't really been doing too much of on the research front on YouTube. Caught up with a couple of emails. You sent me a couple of links there during the week, and I checked them out. I was actually on Facebook as well. I had some time to go on Facebook, and one of our guests that we had on during the year, Dr. Tony Minervino, I was on his Facebook page, and Tony has started it again. I'm just putting it out there, okay? We're not saying anyone has to believe anything we say here. Check out everything yourself. But Tony has started to investigate the flat earth. And he's been watching some videos and listening to some information and doing a spot of reading as well. And he had some of the links up on Facebook. And again, he's having a look at this kind of information from a very, very open-minded point of view, because Tony's very open-minded. And he's you can actually see some of the people, his other friends on his Facebook page, where he's saying, I'm not sure I believe this, however, this argument seems pretty convincing. And he put a link to a video, so I would have checked out the video, and I think it was one that I had seen before. It wasn't Mark Sargent, it was the other chap, Eric Dubé. And it's the information, like it's good information if you're into that, if you're into looking down that particular rabbit hole. And even Tony was even saying it's very convincing. And some of Tony's other friends come on and they start slating Tony. Well, not slating, but just having a pop at him, saying, "Oh, if you believe this, you believe anything." And he's coming back and he's saying to him, "Well, but hang on a second, have a look at the information yourself. It's even if it's not true." He said, "Even if it's not true, there's a lot of good information on there that is very bloody convincing."
Well, again, it goes down to condemnation without investigation.
Yes.
Is the height of ignorance.
Yes.
Have a look at the information and decide for yourself, I think. It's important.
Yeah. But I was just catching up on that and a few other bits and pieces, concentrating on Christmas, and I think, look, we all know what Christmas is about. It's a time of when you get ripped off and you spend money that you don't have. But at the end of the day, if you have children, it's done for a bloody good reason.
It's for the kids.
It's for the kids, and I have to say, the look on the children's faces Christmas morning, after Mammy and Daddy have done their bloody best. It warms the cockles of a heart, so it does. And I have to say, I know it's kind of overrated, and I know it's all commercialised, and look, we all know, but we still do it anyway. And again, it is for the kids.
I thought I was going to have a lie on, considering my son is now 14. But
Yeah.
Did I have a lie on? No.
What time are you up at?
Well, it was about 7:30, I think. 7:30.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, we were up at 7:30 as well. But that's because we woke up at 7, and we were kind of lying there, and we were having a conversation, and my missus said to me, she says, there's no sign of them storing you. And I says, well, look, will we go back to sleep? And she says, geez, no, it's Christmas morning. So we woke up young Holly, who's 3, and then sent her in to wake up the other 2. And then we were up then. But no, I mean, if you left mine to their own devices, they would have slept till 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's good. That's a good complaint.
No, not really, because then you think, hang on, it's Christmas morning, they'll sleep on till 9 o'clock. Christmas morning, I couldn't go to sleep. I remember listening to, or hearing my mother telling me stories that when I was a young fella, she used to have to give me a little sip of brandy to try and get me asleep. And she said one year, and this is no word of a lie, but she said one year that I couldn't sleep and I was so wound up about the whole thing. She said that she was doing the Santy thing, and I woke up, and she said that she was faced with a decision. did she just throw herself and everything down the stairs? But anyway, she resolved it by giving me half a Valium tablet. She said that she had.
Bloody hell. Okay.
Yeah, and she said that done the trick.
So that's where your drug career kicked off, was it?
That was my first first time on hard drugs. I think, yeah.
For a kid.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I could have been 10 years of age, but the excitement, it's fantastic. But yeah, outside of that, myself and Alan, we did hook up with Adam, one of our listeners, and met his lovely wife and his lovely children as well. And we sat there for, it must have been nearly 4.5 hours. It would have been, yeah, it was 4.5 hours.
Would have been about that, yeah.
Just kind of shooting the breeze. And I'd say if it hadn't been so late and we all weren't kind of worse for wear, we probably would have stayed much longer. But yeah, it was fantastic just hooking up with Adam there and shooting the breeze. It was a great conversation. We weren't even, I won't even say we were drunk at the end of it, but we were happy. We were in a kind of a happy place.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that we're planning for next year. As part of OIM and as part of helping to get like-minded people together. So we're talking about that at the moment. So as soon as we have more information for you, we'll obviously let you know. And we'll keep you posted. Anything else during the week?
There probably is. Look, sure, if there's anything else, I'll throw it out there during the rest of the show. Yourself?
Yeah, no problem. Sure. Well, I've been looking, like Steve, busy with family and doing all the Christmas stuff, but I've also been looking at the Magrav device by Kirsch, the scientist, the Iranian scientist, and I've been looking at that, and I've been trying to find a video that somebody has put up, which I haven't seen it yet. Maybe somebody out there can find it and send it to me, of a kind of dummies guide of getting the actual Magrav, not making the actual the nano coated coils. I'm not really interested in that, but actually buying the device and setting it up from scratch and doing all that kind of stuff. And the videos that I have seen, just a couple of things come to mind for people who are aware of the Magrav device. If you're not aware of it, basically there's an Iranian scientist called Kirsch, and basically he has designed a system using nano copper coated cables and using plasma, where you can plug in loads of devices and it'll power a lot of devices in your house. So the whole idea is, some people think it's kind of free energy, but it's not. It's not to replace your household power. Basically, the idea is that you have this box, you plug it in the wall, and then the other part of the socket you plug in all your devices. So, say if you have 5 devices and they take 600 watts of power. Well, basically what you do is you'd plug in them 5 devices into the Magrav device, and then plug the Magrav device into the wall, and then the power that you'd only consume would probably be 100 watts. So you'd be saving 500 watts of power, because the Magrav device would be using its own energy to power the items that you want. That's based fundamentally, without getting too scientific, how it works. Now, so you still need your household power. Now, I was thinking about, getting, looking at transfer switches and all that, going off grid and all that kind of stuff. But you can't really do that with the Magrav device, because it's not designed to do that. The other thing, these are just a couple of things I've come across with all the kind of looking I've been doing, the research I've been doing on YouTube, is that it has a limit of 2 kilowatts. And before we went live, myself and Steve were talking about the power that household items might take. And I think Steve, you said your power shower takes about...
Well, a shower takes about 9 kilowatts.
Wow.
If a kettle, a fast boil kettle is about 2.
Yeah, 1.5, 2.
Yeah, your regular kettle is probably 1.
Yeah. Then you have your heating system.
Yeah.
And
you chuck on the oven there to make some dinner.
Yeah. Okay, so you're probably looking at you'd want a device that generates about 20 kilowatts, really. Now, I know Kesh said in his interviews that he reckons that it would go up to about 35, which would be brilliant, but it's not being, he puts a 2K limit on the device at the moment. So there you go. So that's that, and obviously it's €499 to buy it. And I was just saying to Steve, would it be worthwhile OIM buying it, using donations, and then making a proper video of how it works, putting it together bit by bit? I mean, basically, it comes in the box, taken out of the box, saying here it is, showing people exactly what it looks like, and then going through the whole dummies guide process of what to do with it and how to use it. So if people decided that they wanted to get one, they would have at least some introduction video, because most of the videos out there are got to do with people making their own coils, making their own MadGrab devices. And there's a lot of people who are technically brilliant, but when it comes to teaching, the whole thing about the MadGrab device, they just go off in a tangent on the science side and lose everybody. And even Kesh does that as well. And this is a common problem with technical people, which I've come across time and time again. They're technically brilliant, and people say, oh, you really know your stuff, you should go and teach. Teaching is a skill in itself, and just because somebody's technically brilliant doesn't mean they know how to teach. You have to have the ability to take the technical and make it non-technical. And there's a lot of people out there who are technically brilliant at things, but when it comes to teaching, they don't know how to do it. They just can't do it. So it's an art form. Teaching is an art form. So I'm not saying I'm an expert either, but I am qualified, and I'm a qualified IT trainer, which, might help out if I was to do it. And I'd really break it down into a kind of dummies guide and just show people the actual device and what you have to do and how to set it up and all that kind of stuff. So, we'll throw it around there if people think it's a good idea and they'd like us to do that. Because if you can get a MadGrab device, say for €500, and you plug it in and you can put things on it like your fridge or your dishwasher or whatever, and you can save yourself a few quid on electricity, well then happy days. I mean, that's the whole idea. Don't think so?
Yeah, that is the whole idea. At the end of the day, it's all about saving you money.
Yeah,
or
that's it.
Saving the people money, because at the end of the day, the companies who are supplying the electricity, and God knows we've got enough of them over here, on any given evening, you could have, on any given week, you'll have at least one evening where someone will knock on your door and they'll ask you who was your electricity with, and they'll try and flog you their electricity, saying it's much cheaper, and then they'll ask you do you have gas, who's your gas with, and all this carry on. And who's your phone with? That's what they're doing now. They're going with, like, there was a time we had one guy going around from, let's say, an alternative gas source, and he'd say, who's your gas with? And you go, oh, it's with company A, and he'd go, well, I'm with company B, and we can save you, blah, 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 blah. But now that's exactly what they're doing. If they're selling 3 different products now, because I've actually had this. They tried to sell me the electricity from there. I think it was Energia. Again, I don't know much about them, but it was one of these prepay. No, it was prepay electricity. One of these prepay meters where they come and they install it in your home, and you have to top up and all this carry on, and you type in a code. But I done the research in that, and when you get this thing in, your bill goes up. I think it's something like €125 per year, because you're paying for the rental of this little device's keypad that they install in your home. So that's it's kind of defeating the purpose. You think you're saving money, but you're not, because you're actually spending more. Whereby, if you actually just do online banking, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about bank accounts and all this carry on, but if you do online banking, or even if you go down every week to your local post office and you put maybe a €5 or €10 or €20 or whatever you can afford off your bill, and do that every week religiously, then you'll find when the bill comes in, it's significantly less, and sometimes you're actually in credit. Yeah. So, then if they can't get you with the electricity, they'll try and sell you a phone service. And actually, that's what the guy did to me. He started off the gas, then he moved on to electricity, and then he moved on to the broadband. Yeah. And I just said, no, listen, I'm not interested, mate. If I am, trust me, I do my own research, and I don't need someone knocking at the door trying to sell it to me.
Did he have a coat that he opened up and said, do you want knives and forks and pizzas? Or
yeah, there was all these watches there. Do you want a Casio? No. Casio. Rolex? No.
That's what it's going to be like. They're going to be all-in-one providers where they'll be able to sell you everything, Yeah,
be like Moore Street years ago. For anyone old enough to remember Moore Street here in Ireland, you'd be walking down around Halloween, and all these little old women who, well, they look like little old women with their headscarves on, and they just walk up to you. Are you looking for bangers or rockets?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh, I do.
That's what it'll be like. You'd be walking down the road, and some guy will be there. You looking for electricity or gas?
Yeah. So there you go. So the MadGrab device, if people think it's a good idea, let us know, and maybe we can get some donations, get it in, and we'll do a tutorial video for everybody. So we'll break it down into very simplistic ways so people can understand how to use it. and what's required. And look, if people are interested and it does work and do the job, this is the other query I had with it, by the way. The other thing was the two leads that come out of the MadGrav device, right? The trouble with the cabling that comes out of that, it doesn't look like to me that it'd take 2K. You know, 2.5, 3.5 cabling for me would be, strong enough for it 2K of power.
Yeah.
But the cabling they have is like Kettleflex they have coming out of it. I don't know whether that's a design issue where they have to redo it, because I do believe he did mention that on one of his videos a while ago, and I don't know whether they've corrected that and made it a bit, stronger, made a higher ampage of cable, because 2 kilowatt is quite a lot, Yeah,
well, I mean, if that's all you're going to be, I mean, look, as you say, the flex coming out of your kettle, well, that's designed on a fast boil kettle anyway to take 2 kilowatts. But I don't think it's designed to take 2 kilowatts 24 hours a day.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe it's for the couple of minutes that you're boiling the kettle,
Maybe you upgraded cable. I mean, again, it's something that in the new year we might look at doing that, and then we do the tutorial. Right, okay, so that's of interest, but there is information out there about the MadGrav device. Have a look at that. Maybe there is a way where you can set up a transfer switch or another circuit board, and you can move some of the non-essential items like plugs and the lighting onto the second circuit board and have that wired to the MadGrav device. So if you can reduce your energy power by 2 kilowatts at least, that's going to save you money.
Of course. Just seeing on the chat there, Joan says that the guy in Cork has a free energy device. Well, if anyone has any information about the guy in Cork, please, or contact details, send them on to us. We'd love to hear from him, or anyone who knows him, and get him on, have a chin wag with him.
I mean, to get off grid would be fantastic. If you have, the other thing I was looking at as well, along with this, before we get into doing the schedule, is solar panels. Basically using 250 watt solar panels, get 4 of them, that's 1,000 watts, and basically wire them into an inverter with a charge controller and have 1,000 watts of power, purely power from the sun, using deep cycle marine batteries. That's another way you could actually do it. Again, you'd have to kind of work out how much power you're going to use in the house.
Yeah,
really, that's really it. What's your maximum power? And the whole idea of a transfer switch, there is a chap down in Dublin, down in Whitehall, and I don't know whether I emailed him or spoke to him on the phone, and he said he would fit a transfer switch in your house for €350. Alright, so that includes the transfer switch and the fitting of it. So if anybody's thinking of getting a transfer switch, just to give you an idea what the cost would be, there's a guy down in Dublin who will do it. Because it's very hard. When you speak to electricians, some electricians don't even know what a transfer switch is. And basically what you're doing is going off grid. It's a big switch that you just switch over to another circuit board, which just has your most important switches on there, like your plugs and your lights. You wouldn't have your shower, you wouldn't have your heating, you wouldn't have your cooker on it, because they take too much power. Just purely the things that you need, the emergency things that you need. And then what you do is you buy a generator for a 2 or 3K generator. You can get silent generators now, and you can wire them into your transfer switch. So you'd start off the generator, flick over to the transfer switch, and you'd be on emergency power, but you'd still have power to your house. So that's what I've been kind of looking at, alternatives to power to your house if the grid goes down, or if there's a problem, EMPs or CMEs or whatever, if something happens. So there's loads of stuff on YouTube. Have a look at that and see what you think. Right. Okay, so as we say, this is kind of the annual review. Don't be afraid to call in. Steve, can you give us the details for the call in?
Yeah, 0469271212 is the number. So fastest finger first. Come on. We know somebody wants to ring in. Nobody wants to be first. So maybe we'll just go, let's say, I've got a hat here in front of me with all the names in it. Let's just I'm going to pull a name out. Chris, Chris's name is after coming out there. So 0469271212.
Oh, you can Skype in as well.
Yeah, you can Skype in as well. It's OIM.Ireland, is it? Yeah, I got it right.
OIM.Ireland. Just send us a connection request and we'll accept you there, and then you can call in if you don't want to if you want to save money on your phone call. Right, okay, well, the schedule for the year, we've had some phenomenal guests on over the year, and I can't believe how fast the year has gone. And we started off last year with the lovely Joanne was telling us all about she's ex-military, and she was talking about sky anomalies. She's trained in pattern recognition in the military, and she was telling us all about that. And then we had Bob Fletcher, who was a producer and an author and an investigator. And Bob is still convinced about the Planet X and Nibiru coming in. Kesh talked about the second sun. More and more people are beginning to see two bodies in the sky. Whether it's Nibiru or Planet X, I don't know. But if you just go on the internet and type in Planet X Nibiru, loads and loads of people are seeing it, and it can't be all some kind of CG or anomaly. It can't be, all these photos can't be wrong. There must be some legit photos there. So, again, we don't know. We'll see what happens. They did say it's going to be visible in the sky in December, and people are beginning to see it. So we might see it now in the new year.
Yeah, we might though. But then again, you get up on a morning, as I said, you get up on a morning like this morning where the sky was actually clear and blue in Dublin at 9:30 this morning. But then the chemtrail didn't start at 9:30, but it was in full swing at 9:30. And then shortly after that, well, then the sky was the usual milky white. So, if there is something there, yeah. They don't want us to see it.
They're trying to hide it. Well, if you want to have a look at the sun, you can buy a cheap welding mask. I think they're about 20 quid, and it has to be grade 14. And if you have one of them, you can actually look at the sun directly with the mask, because what you'll see is a green or red sun. And whether you see something beside it, I don't know, but I've actually tested this with a grade 14 welding mask, and you can actually look directly at the sun, and it won't harm you.
But did you see anything though?
No, at the time I did that, no.
No.
But it was high in the sky. They're saying it's in the morning time. You need to get it when it's coming up, the sun is coming up. Right, okay, next guest after Bob Fletcher was Dr. Rima Lebow. Again, Dr. Rima is a regular guest on OIM. Always has great information regarding what's going on, the alternatives, and what the powers that be are doing. So again, a great guest.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, some people actually did have an issue when they tried to buy the nano silver from her website, but she did promise us that she would try and get all those issues sorted out. Now I don't know if she has. We haven't touched base with her in relation to that, but she is selling the nano silver. She also sells the CBD hemp oil and the CBD chocolate as well, which we actually got a couple of bars off her for testing and for trials, I suppose. Well, just to see what it was like. Curiosity more so than anything else. We got a couple of bars, and I have to say it was quite nice. Again, there was some chap who did contact us early in the year, and he said he was going to communicate with Rima Lebow himself, because we did actually talk about if there was someone with cancer who was willing to go down that road, who would, that we could actually monitor. But there was a chap who contacted us, and he said he was going to go direct to Dr. Lebow himself. I don't think we ever heard back from the chap, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, if he actually did make contact with her.
I think the information I have on that is that he bought the chocolate.
Yeah.
And she told him how much to take, and that's as far as I know.
Yeah, we heard on some side there was never anything back, so we don't know how we got on. And he did say like that once he started doing what he was doing, he would kind of keep us updated, but unless he maybe didn't, maybe it was just too late for him. Maybe he's passed on. Yeah, because there was no point myself and Steve getting in the middle and being the middleman, sending information to both. We wanted a direct connection with Dr. Rima, which what happened, and the information at the time I had was that he got some chocolate, so obviously that was maybe the recommendation that Dr. Rima made for him, and he was taking the chocolate. So hopefully he's okay and he's up and running. Fingers crossed. Right, the next guest on, again another great guest, Simon Parks. Simon has been on the show a few times. Again, great information. And he's doing his own thing as well. And he has a regular show on Wolf Spirit Radio every month as well. And we're going to get Simon on again in the new year because, again, he has good information. There's a lot going on. And he's confirmed some information that we've heard from Paddy Broussard and also Dr. Joseph Cipollone, which is interesting. So, again, we'll aim to get him on. The next guest we had on was after Simon was Patrick Kelly.
Now, Patrick was big into the invention side and the technology and free energy, and he was a great guest to have on because we had him on the show before, and he had some great information talking about. Personally, I like talking all the techie stuff. I don't understand all of it, but I like the idea of talking about free energy and different ways of doing things. And again, this like the Maggrav device doing the nano-coated copper cables. There's a lot of information out on the internet how to do that and how to turn them into the plasma so you can use them as a battery and create the energy. But as you said, Steve, earlier, there's a kind of side effect which hasn't been said.
Well, that's what I heard, and it seemingly it says it on the website there, on the Keshe Foundation website, that one of the, I think in this process where they nano coat the cables, the process that's involved creates there's something that's created during this process, and I apologise, I can't remember the name. But it's supposed to be carcinogenic, and it was actually one of the lads at PIR, People's Internet Radio, that pointed that out and sent us over that information when we were discussing the Maggrav device. But yeah, so I mean, the last thing you want to be doing is putting something in your home that's going to give off something that may be, detrimental to your family's health. So it's so much information, you really don't know what to believe.
Yeah, you have to be very careful.
I mean, that's one thing as well. I mean, if you were talking about doing a video, and getting one of these devices in, I think that's something that you'd have to be. It'd have to be kind of number one on your list. Is the health and welfare of the family as well.
Yeah. What frequency is it running on?
Don't know.
That's what you have to be careful at. You have to look at that. Okay. Next guest on after Patrick was Byron from the Hub, and Byron and the gang down the Hub are doing a fantastic job helping so many people. And it was great having Byron on. I think that was his first time doing an interview.
It was. He said he was quite nervous.
He was quite nervous.
He was, but he done great.
Yeah, he did a great job, and I think we had him on again in the year as well. And the next lady we had on was Fiona O'Leary, and we were talking about MMS and autism. And Fiona was kind of not a person. She wasn't an advocate for MMS. She was against that, and she had her own opinions on that. So we had Fiona on there. Then we had.
Sorry, can I just touch base very quickly on Fiona? Yeah. When we were talking about the MMS, we were talking about MMS. And, and on a broad spectrum of things that MMS is allegedly beneficial for. We weren't just focusing on autism. But no matter where we tried to go with the MMS, Fiona was only interested in talking about the autism. And that's okay, because that was her area of expertise. But we were saying that, if it were to be beneficial, then maybe it will be worth doing proper trials on. But again, Fiona wasn't interested. She just kept saying that she'd seen the trials that was already in place, whereby they were strapping these children down and giving them MMS enemas. Now, of course, that to me, and Alan will agree, that's cruelty to children, and we don't advocate that. But if there was proper trials that could be done, instead of just kind of nipping in the bud and saying no, you can't do that, and it's all wrong and it won't work. Maybe if proper trials were done, then maybe we could find out for once and for all, is it beneficial to autism? Or is autism, as they say, is it just one of those things that just happens to happen and it's not caused by any vaccinations or anything else? But no, it was good actually touching base with Fiona, because she did have a lot to say, and I think the fact that Fiona, like most people that we have on, it's kind of something that we're interested in, so we're kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. But Fiona, she was a great guest because she really challenged Alan. He had his work cut out that night, because she wouldn't budge, and every time Alan tried to expand on the MMS, under the MMS umbrella, she wouldn't move, and she just kept bringing it back. It was like you see on a box in a boxing ring where Alan's in the corner, he's trying to box his way out and expand, and she just kept pushing him back into the corner. It was an interesting interview, but it was a difficult one as well.
Yeah, well, as you say, everybody has their own opinion, and sometimes we can go down a rabbit hole, and then maybe some people might realise they're wrong, but because they feel they've gone down the rabbit hole so long, so deep that they can't turn around and get back out, so they have to defend it, even though they might feel that that other person might be right. Sometimes that happens. I'm not saying that I'm referring that to Fiona, but I have come across, I'm sure Steve haven't, and other people have out there, that again, the fluid belief system has to kick in there. Right, okay, next guest was Keith McCluskey, and he was talking about the Dyatlov incident in Russia where people went missing, and they still don't know to this day what happened. They have a lot of theories, but they don't know what happened. And this was in 1959, I believe, around the 3rd of February 1959, around that time, where these group of people in Russia disappeared. That was quite interesting. I think I seen that on TV, and I thought we must get somebody on to talk about that.
Yeah, I think, so, like you're saying, yeah, it was never really kind of found out exactly what happened, but some of the stuff that he was telling us was that a lot of these people were found mutilated, and the bodies were kind of in different places, and there was no kind of rhyme or reason as to why the body was there, why it was in that position, but they were all dead anyway. Yeah,
definitely. And they have, again, loads of theories, but I don't think nobody knows the truth for sure. Well, if they are, they keep it quiet. The next group of people we had a round table with the Irish Citizens Movement. Now they have merged with Direct Democracy Ireland. And we had, I believe, Alan, Jason or Justin and Dermot on, and we were talking about what's going on in Ireland. And again, that was great, having a group of people in, talking about the things that are going on a local level, really good. The following week we had Paul Murphy TD, and he's an actual TD in the Irish Parliament, and Paul came on and told us how he felt about what was going on, the Irish Warder, and he didn't want to pay it, and that was his take. Now, I was on the show with Mick last Monday on Liffey Sound FM, and Mick was just saying, and quite rightly, that the politicians have now brought out more bills, and apparently if you in any way are advocating to people not to pay something, it's now against the law.
Oh, that's one of these 18 offences against the state, these new ones that they brought out, yeah. So if you were to say to someone, I wouldn't pay that if I was you, or you shouldn't pay that, or don't pay that, then you're creating an offence against the state. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. What about the offences against the people?
Yeah, well, that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
We don't really matter at all to the state. We're just here to be bled dry, basically.
All the new funny laws are coming out. So basically, we don't advocate anything. If somebody comes up to me and they say, why are you not paying, I'll explain it to them. But, it's up to them at the end of the day what they do. It's their choice. Nothing got to do with us. So we'd be happy to explain it to them. The next guest we had on was, obviously, another chap that has been on the show a few times, Gary Heseltine, ex-detective constable. He runs the Prufo website in the UK. And for all UFO sightings, and when police see something untoward or something that they can't explain, they will obviously contact Gary and talk to Gary about it. So a good guy to talk about what's happening out there. And our next guest, which is controversial all the time, but great information, and he doesn't hold back, is Dr. Joseph Cipollone. And he talks about the end time prophecies. Now, here's something that you can keep in mind, right? Dr. Cipollone said that about between 600 and 650 million people will be the ones that are, he calls the viables, which will be saved if something happens. This is his take on it. Because there's three types of people. There's the viables, there's the drones, so the people who are day to day, walk around, don't have a clue what's going on, and then the sociopaths and the psychopaths, which are the elites. And he reckons that a percentage of the population, about 600 million, 650 million, will be the ones that will be viable, which will be saved. Now, he kind of put that on the shelf, and then we were talking to Paddy Brassard. And Paddy Brassard, I mentioned this to Paddy Brassard, and Paddy said, yes, everybody else are just avatars. She said there is a percentage of people, she reckons about 8%. Now, if you do the maths on 8%, and say the 7 million people in the world, well, you're probably looking around the 600 million mark, around that. And then I asked the same question to Simon Parkes. And Simon Parkes said, well, 8% is the lower number and 12% is the higher number. So he agrees with that as well. So there's three different people from three different backgrounds who might or might not know each other or know each other's information, but they all agree on the same thing. So that's just quite interesting. Because I have said before, if this is true, for argument's sake, if this is true, Steve, right, and say me and you are viable for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
But we're in a location, we're in Walton's Mountain, and loads and loads, say flooding happens and everything else, but your next door neighbour or somebody in the estate you're living in is definitely service to self, couldn't give a damn about anybody else, very ignorant, very selfish, blah, 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 blah. You can say, well, this kind of safe zone area doesn't make sense, because if a lot of people, if 2/3 of the population get taken out, and your neighbour's still alive after that because you're in a kind of safe zone, how does that work out? To me, that doesn't make sense. So when Paddy Brassard and Simon Parkes and Dr. Chip Malone have said about the 8% or the 600 million who are viable, and whether you get taken up or moved or whatever happens, that makes more sense to me. Because the whole idea that you could be living with people around you that don't have a clue what's going on, they could be the drones, they could be the psychopaths, they could be service to self. So that, the whole kind of safe zone idea doesn't kind of work with me. So again, that's just my own opinion based on the information that we got from the guests that we've had on. Is it going to happen? I don't have a clue. I don't know. What do you think?
It's hard to know. Look, at the end of the day, Joseph Cipollone was on, and he said a lot of things. He believed wholeheartedly a lot of the things that he spoke of. And when some of these things were due to come to pass, I think you asked him again, would he come on and just kind of shoot the breeze with us? And he said no. He said no. He had been told by his people that he wasn't to do any more interviews. His work here was done, and what he had said was going to happen was going to come to pass, but it didn't. And then he contacted us again, or did you contact him, or did he contact us?
I contacted him.
Yeah, I know someone I think it was Lindsay Williams contacted you. Lindsay wanted to come on. I think he had some new information on the book and DVD to go with that information. But yeah, now Joseph Cipollone, he's a nice guy. He's a very nice chap to talk to. I mean, we've spoke to him on the radio, the wireless, and we've also spoke to him off air as well. And he's a nice chap. He really is. He believes in what he says wholeheartedly. But unfortunately, again, is it just a timeline thing? What he says is going to happen, is it genuinely going to happen? And therefore, maybe if people believe in timelines, maybe the timeline just switches, and therefore we find ourselves on an alternative timeline, because we have been told recently that we are on a timeline, and there's a lot of negativity out there that is trying to bring us onto a different timeline. Call them the elites or whoever you like, but then other forces are there and they intervene, and we flip back onto the timeline that we're supposed to be on. It's out there stuff, and it's hard to know what to believe and who to believe. But again, everyone who we've had on who spoke kind of about this information, everyone believes what they say. They all, as far as they're concerned, it is true what they say, and who are we to tell them that it's not true? But that's why when something that they've prophesied comes to, or doesn't come to pass, and we get them back on, that's kind of what they're saying then. Oh, it's all about timelines and windows of opportunity. So again, before we come on, we were just kind of sitting here shooting the breeze, and we were talking about fear and keeping people in fear, and a lot of stuff that comes along. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that does happen, whereby the likes of someone will say, oh, there's going to be massive flooding of biblical proportions, and then we look at the UK this week, where there is flooding of, biblical proportions. Well, maybe not biblical, but, it is bad. And then there's a lot of people in fear, and that will go away, and then there'll be something else to keep the people who are asleep. There'll be something else to keep them in fear. And there'll be also other things, other prophecies as well, to keep the people who are awake in fear, like Planet X is coming in, Nibiru is coming in, and there's all sorts of things that's going to happen, and the EMPs and CMEs and all this carry on. But it seems like everything is all based on fear, and the powers that be, if you want to call them that, that's their goal, it seems, to keep us in fear.
Yeah. Well, fear is an energy vibration, and I was watching a video earlier today with Alex Collier, and Alex was saying that, and we're going to have Alex on the show in the new year, and Alex was saying that's what they want us to do. That's the whole idea, is that they're rushing, they're trying to bring in their system before people wake up, and they're trying to keep us in fear. There's going to be a bomb or an explosion, or something's going to happen, or there's going to be a meteorite or Planet X or whatever. It's all about the fear and keeping your energy down, because if you are down on fear, you won't be open to, maybe an energy upgrade. Apparently we're going to have a third strand that's going to be activated with all this energy that's hitting the planet. There's definitely something strange going on. I will definitely say that, because so many people have been saying it to me, between not being able to sleep and dietary issues, or not feeling well, or feeling lethargic, or so many different, just feeling off and not feeling hungry. Other people, just so many things going on. So many, and I've never come across so many people complaining about certain different things. And this could be all part and parcel of the energy changes and what's happening from a spatial point of view out in space, and this galactic plane, and the energy apparently that's going to be that's hitting the planet. I won't say going to, but is hitting the planet at the moment. So it's obviously part and parcel of that. But so we move on. We had John Flatley on the show in March, and he was talking about addiction. And then we had Stan Deo. He was on, good guy, really talked to us about the weather, what was going on, solar flares. I think we'll have to get Stan on again. He had great information, and we'll get an update on what's going on.
Yeah, just backtrack ever so slightly about John Flaherty. We had him on. He actually spoke about his book as well. John was actually a priest, and he decided that maybe wasn't the best role for him to be on, so he started doing addiction counselling for people who found themselves obviously addicted to the likes of drugs and other such substances. And he wrote a book. We had a great interview with John. A lot of the information that he had some of it was great information, and some was kind of information that you already know. It's kind of stuff that's already in the back of your mind, but it just sits there until somebody says it to you, and then when they say it to you, you go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, my father actually listened to that particular show with John Flaherty, and he really thought the information was fantastic, and he actually bought one of his books, and he said it was really great. It was a good read. So yeah, that was I think we're going to get him on again, because it was just good. And just as a little kind of a side note, we're still waiting on anyone to ring in 0469271212. There's a lot of banter going on in the chat room about who's going to be forced. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll have a little prize for whoever's forced. Yes, we won't tell you what it is, but maybe we'll have a little prize. Anyway.
Okay, no worries. Okay, we had Stan on in April, and the next guest we had on was Kevin J. Todasky. And Kevin is the CEO of the Edgar Cayce ARE Foundation in Florida. And again, that was interesting. If you don't know who Edgar Cayce is, he was a prophet in the early 30s and 40s. And at the end of his life, he was doing 2 readings a day, and he was booked up 8 years in advance. That's how good he was. And again, Edgar Cayce did make a lot of predictions about what's going on now. Now, one of the predictions that he made was that Russia would actually be the saviors, and that there would be flooding. There's an Edgar Cayce map regarding the safe areas on the globe regarding the flooding. I don't know whether it's got to do with the pole shift or got to do with just the polar ice caps melting, but again, you can go over there and have a look around, or just listen to the interview on our website.
Actually,
you can tune in.
David Wilcock is supposed to be the reincarnation, isn't it? Well, some people say the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce.
Yeah, there is that being said. I don't know whether that's true or not. Again, sit on the fence with that one. The next couple of people we had on was David and Irene, and they were talking about sovereignty over in Canada and about taking your sovereignty back. Again, we did aim to have them on again. We might aim to do that, because we never really got around to do part 2 with them. But as I've said before, we've got so many guests booked in and want to come on the show for this year. It's just incredible. It's brilliant, but it's just trying to sort everybody out. We're going to have to double up on some shows, because there's so many guests that we have to get back on. The next guest, a good friend of OAM and who's a regular guest, is James Gilliland. And James, again, Adam that we spoke to, a listener, was over with James over in his ranch, and he said that he was there. They went out, and there was crafts flying about, and James knew that they were the Pleiadians or whatever, and they weren't military crafts. And he said it was very interesting and fascinating to see these flying around. Yeah, he was. I mean, that was the first question I wanted to ask of Adam when we hooked up with him there last week. Was what did he see, and was his mind blown? And he actually did say that there was a lot of stuff floating around in the sky that would just kind of come within 100 meters of you, power up. The lights would get very bright. I think he said it was kind of like a purplish light
it would really get intense, and then it would power back down again and just zip away in the sky. He also told us that they had over at James's ranch the Generation 3 goggles. Goggles? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, the goggles. The military grade ones, which, as far as we know, are illegal in Ireland. But he said that when you look through the goggles, he said that the night vision goggles, that what you actually see up there, he said it's phenomenal. But he said, like, it was a case of you look through them, you'd see it, and then because obviously Adam is very open-minded as well, he accepted it. And the craft were flying around as well. He said he's seen those, and he just accepted it. Well, and everyone else is kind of, oh yeah, that happens all the time. But he said he had great chats with James, and he also hooked up with some other people there. He said there was always chats going on and talks, and he said even just kind of hooking up at breakfast, and there's a lot of meditation. But he said that the time he spent over there was well spent, because he got in touch with his inner self, and he said I met a lot of fantastic people over there as well. And I think that has to be something that we'd have to put on our bucket list, will be to go over and visit James in the ranch.
Well, we did get permission to actually set up an Irish version of ESETI over here, which is something that's, it's still on the cards for us. And if anybody basically wants to do some sky watching, then email us, let us know. And if there's enough people interested, then we'll actually bring you up to the location where we got approval for doing some sky watching. If you want to do that, just let us know. Send us an email to info@oamradio.com. Right, okay, so the next person after James, we had Emily Craig, who was basically an ancestor of the Queen, believe it or not. There's an ancestry there somewhere, and she was a contactee, and she talked about positive timelines. Again, good information there. The next week we had Detlev from Wake News Radio in Switzerland. We had Wide Awake News, and that's Gary. And then we had JP from Wolf Spirit Radio. And again, that was just a round table, just to kind of get a global take on what's going on in their own respective countries and what they see, what was going on globally. Just getting their opinion, because they interview so many guests. So that was the plan of attack for getting them on the show, and that was really, really good. The next week we had Richard Cumber and we had Ben Gilroy. Now, I think, was that the show where that started the Pain Genie? And was that the one where he told us about it, and then that's when he came up and said he's going to prove it to us?
Yeah, I think it was. I think you're spot on that one. Richard did come on, and again, like the Pain Genie, that's something that was kind of, it came up on the OAM radar. It may have been 2 years ago, and it was one of those things that just kind of popped up, and we had a quick look and went, yeah, looks interesting, we must look at that sometime. And that was as far as it went, and then we hooked up with Richard, and Richard basically gave us the interview, and afterwards we were shooting the breeze with Richard, and I think Alan basically said to him, put your money where your mouth is. And Richard decided that, okay, he was actually in Ireland at the time, but he was going to be going back to the UK. So he said that he would swing by on his way to Dublin, and he would put his money where his mouth is. So I remember that the following day, when he was due to hook up with us, I was obviously in work, and this was one of those things that, it was an important piece of research, so I took a half day, and Richard actually did come down to my house. We were all down there, and Richard gave us a going over with a baseball bat. No, he gave us a going over with the Pain Genie, and I have to say, I was in pain at the time from an ongoing shoulder incident, which the doctors were calling frozen shoulder. Well, the doctor called it frozen shoulder. I then went to a physiotherapist. He called it something else. But I was in a lot of pain with it. Richard gave me the treatment with the Pain Genie, and I was, I think, 3 or 4 days pain-free after that. He also then treated my wife. She had a fall a week previous and had an incident with her elbow. It was black and blue and bruise and all this. He gave her going over as well, and she was right as rain. And I think same kind of scenario, 3 or 4 days, she was pain-free as well. And it was one of those things where she's a hell of a lot more skeptical than I am. I was happy enough to believe it, that it worked, but she kind of said, well, maybe it was just mind over matter. And I said, well, maybe it was, but you're not in pain and I'm not in pain. And I said we've often gone to bed, thinking, doing kind of mind over matter, but it never seems to work. So we actually went out and, we got a loan and we actually got one of the Pain Genies, and it was actually in and around the same time where one of our listeners, we don't mention, we can't mention who it was, but one of our listeners actually got sent over the money and said, get a Pain Genie. I want OIM to have a Pain Genie and help people, and we did. And I have to say, so far, Alan has treated a lot of people with the device with great results, haven't you?
Yeah, in the first week after doing the training, because the listener paid for the training as well, in the first week I treated 8 people in that 1 week.
How many died?
How many died? Yeah, I'm going to change my name. So, and it went down, and the Pain Genie, if you get out of pain, I mean, happy days. But it's all got to do with the reduction of pain and Herring's Law. And Herring's Law states that you heal from your head down, your inside out, and back in time. And there's a difference between an acute pain and a chronic pain. An acute pain is if you bang your hand off a table, that's an acute pain. But a chronic pain would be back pain or frozen shoulder, which Steve had, which is something that you've had for a while. So you might need multiple treatments with the Pain Genie. Now, the Pain Genie is not a TENS machine. Alright, it doesn't work like a TENS machine. A TENS machine works like a painkiller. It goes away for, a couple of hours and then bang, the pain comes back. The Pain Genie actually activates your own body's medical kit, the endorphins, and it gets it to fix it. And I mean, myself and Steve, we treat each other every now and again. If we have a pain somewhere, pain in the arse sometimes,
You're sending out hang on, people are visualising this. This is like showing of this, like what they say, radio was something for the mind, and people are stop, please.
Anyway, so we have the odd time when we have aches and pains as we're getting older.
Above the waist.
We actually use the Pain Genie, and again, we've friends, family, anybody that we can help, or they say they're in pain. We actually give them a Pain Genie treatment. So it's definitely being put to good use, and will always be put to good use as long as we have it, and as long as it's working. And we'd love to do the part 2 of the training course whenever we get time to do that. Maybe we'll get it sometime, but I'm sure part 2 would be quite interesting, where you really get into know about other, like, essential oils and stuff like that, and the frequencies that they work on, because that's quite important. I think it's Young Living is the company that's recommended, but they're trying to close down, they're trying to shut down the Young Living website, because again, people begin to wake up and realise this, and certain parts of your body work on certain frequencies, and the essential oils are there to help out. Make sure you get good ones. If you are buying essential oils, if you cannot take them orally, then they're not good ones. The good essential oils, you should be able to take them orally as well. Alright, so just a little tip there. So after we had Richard on, and what we did, we aimed, the plan of attack was for Richard to come up and give us the treatment during that week. And then the following week, we had Richard back on, along with Glenn Hudson from the Message of Garabandal. Now, obviously, I think we had Richard on for 20 minutes at the end of the interview, and we told people our experience on the Pain Genie. And I know we've been told by a few people that based on what we said about the Pain Genie, they went off and bought one, because it's not cheap. They're 600 quid. So it's a lot of money. It's a big investment. But they've had some fantastic results with the Pain Genie, and that's without even them doing the training. So that's how easy it is.
And actually, one of the DJs over on PIR, you know who you are. He told us as well. He invested in one, and he treated himself, and he treated his couple of his family members, and he's converted as well. He's a believer in what this device actually does, and I think he's also going to try and arrange to do the training day the next time Richard's actually doing training here in Ireland, because it's like we done the day. Well, it was actually 2 days. Sorry, it was 2 days. But it was well worth it. We learned so much, and there was loads of handouts and videos and information. It's a lot of information to take in over 2 days. Like even kind of a couple of months after doing the training, I would still look back from time to time, as I'm sure Alan does too. You look back at the notes, there might be someone will ask you a question or say, is it any good for such and such? And you go, oh, hang on a second, just let me check the notes, and you'll have a look at the notes. But as Alan said too, like a lot of the essential oils, we learned some good information in relation to the essential oils.
Yeah.
We didn't go mental into the science of it because it was Pain Genie training, I suppose. But the essential oils are very, very, very beneficial too. And Richard actually did touch on the frequency of some of the oils, and what frequency they would resonate on and what they're good for. And I think people underestimate essential oils.
Yeah.
Like up to that point, to me, essential oils were something that you got with one of these little burners. You fired up a little, what do you call those little candles, whatever they're called anyway. But one of these little candles, and you put a couple of drops of the essential oil in some water, and you let it evaporate into the room. And that's fine, that's okay. But like from what Richard said to us, there's a lot more science behind it. You can actually ingest some of the oils as well, as Alan said, the better quality ones. You can actually ingest them, and they work wonders.
Yeah, definitely. So the Pain Genie, again, it's doing its wonders. We're still doing what we're doing, treating people if they're in pain, trying to educate them. So again, it is being put to good use, I will say. Thanks to the listener who donated for doing that. I mean, it's fantastic that we can do that and help people. Right, and then we had Glenn Hudson from the Message of Garabandal. Now, everybody heard of the Secret of Fatima. Everybody's well aware of 3 Secrets of Fatima. But I never actually heard of the Message of Garabandal until, I did it. I don't know, it was one of these, you're searching and you go into one thing, and all of a sudden the original thing you were looking for is completely changed to something else. And it was about 4 children in Spain in a village called Garabandal, where Our Lady Mary appeared to them and told them what would be happening to the world, to the planet, if we didn't change our ways, which is kind of the same thing as Fatima, really. And basically this girl, Chinquita, what I believe her name was, something like that, basically was the girl who, she went on the Late Late Show. You can go on YouTube, and Gay Byrne interviewed her on the Late Late Show, and that's available on YouTube. You can go and check the interview that she did with Gay Byrne. And she said that it would be happening around April, May, June. She wouldn't say what year, but it was, anything's going to happen. It happened around April, May or June, and she would give 8 days notice before it would happen. Our Lady will appear to her 8 days before to let her know, and then obviously, we'll have to change our ways, whatever that means. Obviously being positive and being, sorry for all our sins and everything else. I suppose it's the kind of Catholic Christian way to kind of look at it. So it was quite interesting. So if you go over to that interview and listen to, if you haven't heard, you've heard of Fatima, the 3 Secrets of Fatima, but if you haven't heard of Garabandal, I recommend going over and listening to that interview, and you'll get an idea what that Garabandal is. Again, I think it's May, June, July, but she will be told 8 days before, and it'll be in her lifetime. So, and she's in her 70s now, I think, 60s or 70s now. So, it's obviously going to be quite soon anyway, whatever it is. Right, and the next guest we had on after that was Alan Laws from the National Citizens Movement. And Alan is one person that is not coming forward regarding the water meters and saying about the dangers. Now, one of the things that Alan did, if you watch the video on YouTube, was that he wanted to prove how easy it was to poison a family with the water meters. So all he did was, he got food dye, took out the meter, poured the food dye in the water supply, and then put the meter back in. And then when you went into the house and turned on the tap, within a few minutes, the red dye was coming through the tap. So just imagine if somebody was malicious and wanted to poison you or your family, and all he did was remove the meter, poured some, poison down in the water, and then put the meter back in, and then went off, and nobody would know any difference. So Alan was trying to show the dangers and the lack of security with the Irish water meters and how easy they were to manipulate. So again, that was a good interview.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, as Alan said, Alan Laws, he's not shy. We've actually met Alan a couple of times. We met him in Kells, County Meath, when I think Kells Against Water Meters, they were kind of getting together as a group, and we met Alan down there. And he came down from Navan to give a talk and give some information, and we met him at a further protest. And we've seen his videos, we've interviewed him as well. And Yeah, he's a lot of information, and I believe, I'm not sure if he actually did this or he was going to do this, but there was talk of him going to the likes of the American Embassy and showing them the video of how easy it is to tamper with the water, because I'm sure, if water meters are going in, well, I'm guessing the American Embassy are going to be getting one too, unless, of course, they're going to be exempt. So, if somebody really wanted to mess about with you, they could. I mean, look, obviously, what you could do was run your water, I suppose, for a period of time before you use it. But, it's... You don't know. You don't know what people could actually put into it. I mean, as we already know, your water comes in and, okay, you run the cold tap or whatever, but if they put something into your water, it could end up going upstairs into your tank, sit in your tank and ferment and grow, and who knows what it could be. And then it starts coming down, it's coming out in your shower, it's coming in you flush the toilet, when you wash your hands. You don't know. I know it's bad enough having bloody fluoride in the water, and all the other crap that they're putting into it. But Alan was a good guest. He was, and we look forward to catching up with Alan again in 2016 and seeing how he's progressing.
And remember also that we did the interview with Barry Trower regarding the dangers of the water meters and the fact that it's making fundamental DNA changes to the water anyway. And Barry did offer to come over and stand up as a witness, an expert witness regarding the water meters. So that's great to know that Barry will do that. If it comes to that we can actually contact him, and he said that he'd do that. So that was, again, great information from Alan. Well, your next guest after that. Now, don't be shy on ringing in.
I would, yes. Stop. They're not going to ring in.
I listen to the American radio shows, right? And there's loads of people ringing in all the time, and I don't want to look, there's no point ringing in at 9 when we're just about to close everything down. If you want to ring in, and then we'll have a chat with you, or if you have any questions. So don't be shy.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want to say thanks to John McHugh on PIR. Tea lights. Yes, I couldn't remember what those little candles were called. Tea lights.
Tea lights, no worries. Now, we had John Flaherty on again regarding addiction. We had a half show with him. And then the second guest on was Anthony Hughes. Now, Anthony Hughes and Richard work together. And Anthony's down in Stillorgan. And when we initially had Anthony on, we want to get Anthony back on because Anthony his qualifications and training is phenomenal. A lot of people go to him, and a lot of people, we have somebody calling in. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you located? How you doing? Is that Patrick?
Patrick! Merry Christmas, Patrick. Yes.
Happy commercial day. So what can we do for you? Do you have a question, or do you have anything you want to have a chat about?
For the crack bed.
Oh, well, okay.
That's in the post. That present's in the post.
Was that the bouncy check that you were showing me earlier?
That was the rubber check.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to get some stickers to you or something like that. We'll sort something out. we make it look like Irish water, the envelope. So how for a bit of fun.
So how was your year, Patrick?
Oh, good lad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same, yeah, that's it.
And how's your Christmas? Everything going okay? Everything same, nice and quiet, or what are you up to? Okay. No worries at all. Excellent. And how's things going regarding your... because I know when you start calling us and we were ringing and we were chatting to each other, you were beginning to open up and, learn about loads of stuff. And, where are you at the moment? Are you doing the Irish water thing and the property tax and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, no, we can't, it's against the law now. We can't tell people not to do it. But if they ask us why we're not doing it, then we can tell them. Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a fine line. What way? You have to be very careful what way you say it. Yeah. All right, Patrick. Well, listen, thanks for calling in. Much appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll sort something out. We'll have to get your dress off you, and we'll sort something out.
Yeah, I just want to say we couldn't get the blonde, but the brunette said she'll go for it.
No worries. All right, Patrick. Thanks for calling in. Take care of yourself, mate.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Bye bye.
Now that was Patrick. Patrick's a long-time listener of the show. Patrick is on the chat room there. He's on PIR, and he always has time to send us over some information or a couple of links. And Patrick has rang in over the past couple of years as well. Always has a soft spot for us here at OAM. So thanks, Patrick. So Patrick's getting the free gift. So who's next? Come on.
Who's next? Right, okay, going on. Anthony Hughes. Now, Anthony has an awful lot of information, and he has a clinic down in Stillorgan. And when we had Anthony on, and he was telling us about what he did, we did hear of a case, I'll not mention any names, where there was a little child who was kind of, there was loads of kinds of poisons being pumped into him, farmer poisons being pumped into him, and he was bouncing off the walls. And this father brought his little child down to Anthony, and Anthony just basically detoxed him. And he said the difference in the child after what Anthony did was phenomenal. It's just incredible. All the heavy metals was taken off, and all the pharmaceutical drugs were taken out, and there was a massive change with the child. So again, something to bear in mind. Again, we're going to get Anthony back on, because I think that's definitely a must to talk about, the alternatives out there, and not just going down the farmer route. So we'll do that this year. We'll definitely aim to have Anthony back on. The next people we had on was Karen Norris, and talking about time banking. And then we had the Public Banking Forum. Now, time banking, myself and Steve have talked an awful lot about on the show before. And if you don't know what it is, go over to the oamradio.com website, and on the front page, we've loads of information about time banking. Because if there is a financial crash and the banks close, like they did in Greece for a week, and you can't get your money, then you're going to be going back to bartering. And that's really what time banking is all about. It's all about bartering your time. And that's the real currency. Time and your energy is the real currency, not this paper, funny money that we have and that we've been programmed to use. So if you want to check out time banking, it's something that you can get involved in. You can set time banking little groups up in your own communities all around the place, and the sooner the better we have something like that in place, then the less we have to deal with having cash and money, and the banks lose out big time. So just a little bit of information for you there. We also had the Public Banking Forum, who I think that was James that came on, James Miller, and James talked about what they plan to do with the Public Banking Forum. Again, tune into the show and have a listen to what James proposes to do with his group and what they're planning to do there. I think they're in discussion with TDs at the moment. The next guest on, again, we had Joanne Kramer on again, and we had Richard Cumbers on again. As you can see, there's sometimes we get the guests back on because they might have some information to talk about or things that have happened. So we do get regular guests on. Then, after Joanne and Richard, we had Corey Good and David Wilcock. I can't believe that's June already.
Yeah.
That's just phenomenal how that has flown.
Seems only like 6 months ago.
Yes, it did, yeah, just like 6 months. And their actually podcast on their YouTube channel is up at 106,000 at the moment. It's phenomenal. I mean, we had Meltdown that night, remember?
Yeah, hang on. We got a call on Skype coming in.
Did we have a call on Skype?
Oh, we had a call on Skype. We did.
Right. If that person wants to call in again, we'll just turn up our Skype button if you want to call in again.
Right, I think she does. So just turn up the old Skype there.
Oh, the Skype's up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Skype caller.
Oh, hang on.
Ah.
It's snowy.
Oh, hello, Snowy.
It's snowing. We finally got snow for Christmas.
Oh my God, I told you not to rain.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Any questions or what you want to chat about?
Nothing, I just going to say Happy Christmas.
Brilliant. So,
Because we're pressurising people to ring in.
Exactly. And I am dying with the flu.
oh, there's threats on the... Steve is putting threats on the chat room saying if you don't call in, we won't love you anymore. I can hear myself in the background. You must have the show on, do you?
Yeah, you see, there is a little bit of a time delay, but yeah, for anyone who's on the chat room here, this is a long time listener of the show, Snowy, as she's fondly known, also AKA Snowflake. She's there every week. Sometimes she's late, but she always comes in. She always has a bit of banter with the lads, and we were kind of wondering who was going to ring in first. Between say the likes of Snowy, Joan, and Chris, and Agent, and a few others on the chat room. So actually, Snowy, You've won anyway. You've won. You've definitely rung in. I'd say Chris will be next. They'll all follow suit now. You've set the bar.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Excellent stuff. Well, sorry, thanks for ringing in. And listen, have a good... I hope you had a nice Christmas. I hope you have a great New Year. And thanks for tuning in and listening to the show anyway. It's great having you on board.
No problem. Take care of yourself, guys.
All right. Cheers,
Take care,
Snowy.
Snowy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now,
excellent.
There we go. That was Snowy Snowflake from the OIM chat room. So yeah, anyone else want to ring in with a little bit of cheer or a joke or something?
What's the number? What's the Skype?
The number is 046-927-1212. If you're outside of Ireland, it's 00353 469-27-1212. I will put that in the chat room. If you want to contact us on Skype, send us a request on oym.ireland.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so back to Corey Good and David Wilcox. Massive show. We had server meltdown that night. It was unbelievable. We had 66,000 individual hits to the podcast that night as soon as it went up on the website. It was just unbelievable. Great information. Again, keep an open mind, have a listen, see what you think. The next guest we had on was Kate Curtis, who was a healer. I think she was down in Wexford or Wicklow. I think it was Wexford. And Chris Coverdale, all about illegal tax and issues with tax. Again, two good guests, just talking about what they know about, especially Chris with the tax and the issues he's gone through with the taxman and him fighting the Inland Revenue over there in the UK. Then we had Max Egan, and Max is an activist. Everybody knows Max. He's been on the show before, and he's travelling around the world, again, waking people up, telling people what's going on, and coming out and talking about bits and pieces that he's been doing. And a brilliant graphic artist, by the way. If you go over to his website, I think it's crowdedhouse.com, something like that. Crow House?
I think it's the Crow House.
Thecrowhouse.com. And lovely graphics that Max has done, so check that out as well. The next guest we had on was Dr. Michael Sala, and he was in Hawaii. And again, he's kind of part of the Curry David Wilcox group, and again, open-minded about exopolitics and extraterrestrial life and what's going on there. Again, another good interview, good information there from Dr. Michael. The next guest one after Dr. Michael was Leo Aloyne Sagami, who's a writer and researcher and ex-Illuminati person. He was tortured by the Illuminati, and he'd come on the show. He had a new book out, and he wanted to talk to us about it. And again, good information. He even talked about Pamela Anderson going over and getting involved in certain rituals at the end of the show, if you remember that. That was quite interesting. So again, not really for the faint of heart. He didn't come out with much. At the end, we got a bit of positive stuff off him. We got a bit of positive information off him, but most of it was kind of, what's going on and what the plans are for the New World Order. Oh, we have another call. Hang on there. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you?
Hey, Joan! Merry Christmas!
Hey. Oh, fair.
You
is
are
great.
the best.
We're actually getting them on now from the chat room, Fred. That blackmail and the threatening works.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Fair play.
Fair play. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. And did you notice, it's so far, okay, with the exception of Patrick, it's been the ladies now. It's ladies night here at OIM, so the gents will want to get the... I'd say Chris will be next. The ladies will be waiting to hear how Chris...
Excellent stuff. But John, thanks a lot for tuning in and listening. We know you're a regular listener to the show, and we thanks for your support. And onwards and upwards for 2016. I hope you have a great new year. Take care, John. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
There we go.
That's Joan.
Snowy.
There you go.
Joan.
Oh.
Well, Patrick, Snowy, Joan.
So you never know. Chris might call in. You never know.
Who's well on our own chat room here? We have Agent Chris, John Anthony. I'm not sure who John Anthony is. We have Joan has rang in. We've Liam. We have Mandela Effect, which is obviously someone new. Simon F. Don't know who Simon F. is, but you're all very welcome. And the Fastnet. The Fastnet, yeah, I think we know the Fastnet. So there we have to wait for the Fastnet and Whelan Firebrand as well. So yeah, get your dialing fingers dialing. And again, this is not isolated to OIM. Anyone who's listening in on PIR is more than, or anywhere, no matter where you're listening from, more than welcome to just ring in and shoot the breeze for a couple of seconds anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Again, 0469271212, or drop us a request on Skype. It's oim.ireland.
Brilliant stuff. Now, the two next guests we had on, Angel Rose and Hanu, were people that we met, and James O'Sullivan were people that we met on the Payne Genie course. And we had a great chat with them on the course, and we said, well, come on and tell us what they're up to. And they could read the Akashic Records, and they could obviously Skype with you and actually do a reading for you as well. We got a free Akashic Record reading off them, didn't we?
That's right, yes.
Half an hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, she done yourself, she done myself, and I think she also done my wife as well. And again, we met Angel Rose and Ahanu at the Payne Genie. Well, we met James as well, but we met them all on the Payne Genie training course, and we just kind of again like these people were so open-minded. We had a lot in common. Like it wasn't just Payne Genie treatment. There was a lot of other avenues that we would both kind of gone down that they were interested in as well. So great conversation with them. And when we heard about Akashic Records, I think they kind of got the feeling that, you know, I think they got the feeling that we may not really know too much about the Akashic Records, but we were able to kind of scratch the surface. And then once Angel Rose and Ahanu, once they kind of knew that we were familiar with it and we weren't going to ridicule it, so to speak, then they really opened up and just, it was fantastic. And then when they came on, the interview was just amazing. Excellent. Beautiful people. And James is actually on the Payne Genie course as well, because James is actually doing Payne Genie treatments where he lives as well. But if you really want to find out about James's experience, James was the chap who was arrested by the police. They were outside the pub having a cigarette, just talking about, oh, it was a good night, Dad, yeah, nothing in particular. Two guards came up. There was like a sergeant and a junior guard, and the sergeant obviously wanted to show off in front of the junior guard. And James said, well, I'm not giving you my name because it didn't do anything. There's no crime being committed. And of course, he got arrested, put in the back of the car. A lot of things went on from there, and cars taken and everything else. So if you really want to listen to James's experience dealing with the police and what he went through and the issues in court and the amount of times he's been in court, I recommend the second half of that interview. Very, very good what James says and what he writes now on his paperwork and sends it back to, you know, the court people. You know, if the fine comes out, you know, speeding fine and all that, James writes certain things on the actual documentation and then sends it back. So if you want to listen to that interview, it's Angel Rose and Hanu. That was the Sunday, the 2nd of August. Good interview there from James and both Angel and Hanu. The next guest was Chris Spivey. Now, people know Chris Spivey in the UK, and he deals with government hoaxes and false flags and certain things like that. And Chris was he's been kind of attacked by the authorities up there in the UK because he was exposing things that shouldn't be exposed, like the Rigby case, which he couldn't talk about for legal reasons. He had a kind of bar set on him by the court, so he was barred to actually talk about that. So he never did kind of get around to talk about that. But again, a good interview from Chris. The next couple we had on was Karen MacDonald. Oh, we have another caller coming in. Yes, we do. Dermot, good evening.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Wow, that's loud. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm down here in South Spain at the moment.
Wow, what's the weather like down there?
It was actually good on Christmas Day, but it's got a bit cooler the last couple of days. But I did see a guy go swimming today, so it can't be that cold.
Fantastic. Are you obviously living down there, yeah? Yeah. Can you hear me? Are you living down there, Dermot?
I'm losing you occasionally.
Okay. Do you live down in Spain? You're not over there for holiday. Are you living there?
Yeah, I'm living down here, doing my investigations and different things.
Excellent. And how long?
My latest intel I got from somebody who's in the know was we nearly went to nuclear exchange when the Russian jet got shot down. They're not telling you that.
Okay, that's interesting. And do you think that's warming up? Do you think they're going to push the button eventually?
I don't know, because I don't know enough about who does what. I'm surprised that they got that close before backing down. They seem to be doing a lot of deals now, so I think there's a lot of a shouting match between Putin and Obama, and they agreed to a few things.
Okay, so do you think that they are trying to antagonize Putin to force his hand?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. NATO, which I call Nazi toe, is poking the bear, and nothing good can come out of poking the bear, I can promise you. They got bigger bombs than us.
Exactly, but then again, if they press the button, there's not going to be any winner.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different things about nuclear bombs. It's hard to know how bad it would be, but it wouldn't be good. That much I can tell you.
Yeah, especially with the radiation and everything else. And we don't know what the targets would be either, but I think we can take a guess the main cities be targeted. And Ireland, I mean, we lost our neutrality a long time ago.
Oh yeah, we lost our neutrality the day we joined Europe's sanctions against Iran. Because if you sanction a country and you cause people to die from lack of medicine and various things, it's an act of war. And Ireland basically declared war on Iran.
Yeah.
End of story. And Iran is an ally of Russia, so we declared war on Russia. So we're no more neutral than a hole in the head.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the typical example, we had Claire Daly and Mick Wallace gone down to Shannon trying to get in to have a look what was on the planes, and they were arrested and fined. And they were no better knowing what was on them planes. Oh
yeah, look, you see, the New World Order basically owns all the gombeans in Leinster House. I mean, Kissinger was a regular visitor to Ireland, and he could do what he liked. And then we tried getting Kissinger arrested when he came over for the trilateral meeting, and they closed down the Department of Foreign Affairs. Now, there's a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days a year office somewhere in Stephen's Green for the Foreign Office, where if some criminal comes into town, you can rush around, get the arrest warrant, and have him taken out, arrested. But the then Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Fianna Fáil guy, is the head of Fianna Fáil right now, Martin, whatever his name is, I've forgotten. Something Martin, can never remember his name. He closed down the Department of Foreign Affairs so that the Garda couldn't arrest Henry Kissinger. That's the kind of skullduggery that the Gombeans in the Leinster House, the Royal Oireachtas, are doing.
Is that Martin Coveney by any chance?
No, it's the guy in charge of Fianna Fáil right now. He was the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Micheál Martin, yeah.
Batso was running in the place, or Dipso, or whatever his name was.
Micheál Martin, yeah. Oh, wait,
Micheál Martin.
Dermot, thanks a lot for calling in. That's much appreciated. Thanks a lot. And I hope you have a great new year, and we look forward to 2016. But cheers for tuning in to the show.
Yeah, and thanks for all your good hard work during the year, and hopefully I'll get down to the part of Spain where Max is living. I contacted him, but I haven't been able to get down.
Okay, no worries at all. Well, listen, again, thanks for tuning in. Take care. Have a good new year.
Yeah. Cheers, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yep, that was Dermot. Dermot is listening to us, obviously, in Spain, but he's from the People's Internet Radio chat room. So, yeah, thanks, Dermot, for that.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, the lines are open, so if anybody else wants to call in, you're more than welcome to call in. We have 25 minutes left. Again, just going through the actual list. Last people were on was Karen MacDonald and Dr. Tony Minavino. And Dr. Karen MacDonald is known as the Clan Mother, and she's friends with Paddy Bessard and Daniel Brad McBolan III. And Karen does an awful lot of work of exposing things that's going on, and it's brilliant. And Tony does the same thing. We have another call coming in. Hang on there. Hello, caller. Who are you and where are you? Oh, Fastnet. How are you doing? From Barcelona. How are you doing? Cheers. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. It's nice getting feedback from our listeners, because we've been doing this now. I mean, people know we've been doing the show for over 5 years, and we try and mix it up and have a good range of guests on the show. And it's great getting, to know it's not just Ireland, but as you say, you're from Barcelona and you send us emails, and we've communicated through email. And just a big thanks for tuning in, because there's a lot of cheers. Well, there's a lot of internet radio stations out there that we compete with, I'm sure. So we are, we're always humbled when people actually listen to the show. No problem at all.
Same to you.
Listen, take care of yourself. Have a great new year, and we look forward to 2016. And thanks for tuning in. Fantastic.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, brilliant. I've been to Barcelona. It's a nice place. It's a lovely place. So, fantastic. There's a kind of there's a jolly trip, an OAM jolly trip to check it out first, I think. That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff. Fastnet, thanks a lot for ringing in. Much appreciated. Take care. Okay.
Thanks, lad. Have a good evening. So now, there we go. The Fastnet on the OAM chat room there. So far we've had the two ladies and we've had the Fastnet. So we're just waiting on Agent and Chris and Liam and yes, and
anybody else, anybody on PAR, they can phone in as well.
Even just ring in and tell us a joke.
There you go.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. So Karen MacDonald is known as the Clan Mother, and she's exposing a hell of a lot of information, as is Tony. The next guest we had on was a chap called... Oh, we have another call. Hang on a minute.
The lines are open.
Brilliant stuff. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you ringing from? Hey, hi Chris. How are you doing?
Shy. Yeah, Chris. Yeah. You're not shy. Come here. Are you not going to say hello to the ladies as well? Big shout out to the ladies.
All right, Chris. No problem. Have a good one. Take care, Chris. Take care. Bye.
And that was Chris, who, trust me, Chris is not shy. We've met Chris on many an occasion, and a great conversationist.
Yeah.
What was it? 4 o'clock in the morning.
We were fixing the world up to 4 o'clock in the morning, and we had a good old chinwag, and as you do when you have a few beers. And myself and Chris myself and Steve are not drinkers, by the way, but on occasion the odd drink comes out, and it wasn't kind of anything drunken. It was just a sit around the table with a few beers and just talking about the world and what was going on and how we could fix it. And that would be the pub crawl, the virtual pub crawl, as Chris does on the chat room.
Yeah.
When we have a guest on, would you invite these people to the virtual pub crawl? And maybe, as I say, there's something down the line, that we're going to be thinking about doing for OIM for next year. And Chris is, it's an idea that Chris came up with. I'll have to give him credit for that. And we're going to be looking at doing it. And as soon as we have kind of things formulated, we'll let you know what it is. So that's the plan.
Yeah, no, fair play, Chris. Nice to hear from you there. And I just didn't. I knew we may at so the kind of the virtual pub crawl. It's kind of tongue in cheek, and we all just kind of say, oh yeah. Who's coming to the pub crawl? But you never know. It may actually turn into something real. But I didn't realise we were going to be doing it in Barcelona.
Hey, Barcelona.
Yeah,
lovely place. It really is a nice place.
Joan says Chris has a sexy voice.
There you go. Right, the next guest we had on was Scott Tips from the National Health Federation. Again, Scott, always has great information regarding the health, and he represents us over there in Europe and argues and fights for our corner regarding all the food and the poisons that's in our food and everything else. Next guest on, we had Mark Impey, international spiritual medium. Mark was over here. He flew over to Ireland to do a workshop and do some platform work. Mark's a personal friend of mine, and he came on the show. He was here in the studio, and we did a show all about the spiritual side and about being positive and focus on the energy and everything else. So that was good. The next guest after that was Dr. Simon Atkins, and he was talking about Wave X and about Wave X, this energy hitting the planet. And we'll have to get Dr. Simon back on again for next year and get an update on what's going on there, because that was quite interesting. Then we had Garrett Schoolhauser, who had a visitation from his spirit guide, and he has a few books out now, and he's on videos on YouTube all about his experience with his spirit guide and what happened to him, and his guide taking him away and showing him things that were going to happen and things that have happened. So that was quite interesting. And on the same show, we had Alison from the Burn Doctors. Now, the Burn Doctors, basically, you ring a number. If you get burned, you have to ring them within half an hour, and you give them your name, your date of birth, and where you were born, and they through the actual, I'll have to remember the name now, but through the actual technology, with the technology they have, but the field, the energy fields that surround us and we're all connected to, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, they can actually heal you, and they've had some great success with that. Again, if you go to YouTube and type in Burn Doctor, you'll see all the testimonials and people saying they were healed. I forget the name of the field. You remember?
Wrigley Field, I don't know.
No.
Of course, I do remember the interview, and I do remember we heard some great information. We heard great testimonials as well. But then we also heard that the chap who's behind the Burn Doctors was supposed to be, let's just say he wasn't supposed to be who he said he was, and there was supposed to be some other things, nefarious things going on in the background. But again,
check it out.
What do you believe? It's hard to know. But the interview that we had, the information sounded very positive, and the information and the testimonials that we've seen as well also looked quite genuine. So it's hard to know what to believe.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so check it out yourself. Then we had a Stephanie Ralph, and we had Karen Quinn Tostado on the show after that. Now, Stephanie Ralph was a lady, two sides to Stephanie. One side is the kinesiology, which she sent over a good few DVDs to us. We thought it was only going to have one or two. There's actually 12, all about kinesiology. And she sent us a book called You're Not Fat, You're Toxic, or as we call it, You're Not Fat, You're Ugly. And she sent it off to us unexpectedly. I just got that in the post, which is brilliant. But the one thing that Stephanie talked to us about was about the whole ET harvesting. And we mentioned a list of Hollywood movies out there like Jupiter Ascending, where they keep mentioning about this ET harvesting. It was very interesting. So again, if you're into that, go and listen to the show. It was great information from Stephanie. And obviously we talked to Karen as well, and we caught up with Karen Quinn Tostado about what was going on her side and things that were going on in her life and information that she came across. The next guest was Will Berlinghoff, and we talked to Will about CERN and Planet X and about energies and all that kind of stuff. Again, great interview, good interesting stuff that you talked about. And then we had Paddy Broussard, and Paddy, again, great information. So much of it was unreal. I can't believe, that was in October, and it really only feels like it was just a couple of weeks ago. It's just amazing. Time is just flying by. It's just phenomenal. But we had Paddy Broussard, NASA whistleblower, and Paddy was telling us all about things that were going on. Phenomenal information. You probably have to listen to the show twice. Then we had Tolak on. Tolak was a representative, or is a representative from the Andromedan Council, and he's the human representative for them. And we had a few issues there because he was doing the interview from a cybercaf, and there was loads of background noise going on. And so we did say we'd try and do a part 2 in the new year, where we'd actually have it where we could actually call him, where it'd be kind of quiet in the background. So we'll try now to do that. So many people, we have to get back on the show. Then the next guest was again Dr. Rima. We had on again. We were talking about cannabis oil and the benefits of that and the vaccines, the dangers of vaccines. And again, you know, Dr. Ream has always been very helpful. When myself and Steve have a question and we email her, she gets back to us straight away. Can't complain about that.
And as I said, there was one evening I did have a situation at home, and it was could have been midnight. And I'm not sure what time it was in her place of residence, but I was able to jump on Skype. She happened to be on. I rang her, and it was an issue my wife had at that particular time, and she spent maybe half an hour, 40 minutes on Skype with my wife, and let's just say she is a very nice lady, very approachable, and is more than willing to help. So, you know, kudos to Dr. Rima.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to fly through the last few because we're just looking at the time there. Raymond Whitehead from Direct Democracy. Again, great interview with Raymond of what's going on in Ireland. It's always good doing the local stuff as well, because there's a lot going on locally, and not just about the global stuff and the ETs and all that kind of stuff. You know, as a radio show, we try and do as many subjects as we can, because we know people have an interest in a lot of things, a lot of subjects, and we try and cover as much as we can. And Open Your Mind is all about opening your mind and having a fluid belief system at the end of the day. After that, after Raymond, we had Master Chow and Sage Goya, or Gia, who basically were talking about energies and stuff like that, and waking up to your diet and food and all that kind of stuff. And then we had, after that, Aidan Killian, who's a comedian, and a friend of mine, Lorraine Fraser Owusu. Lorraine Reaney came on the show, and she's the lady that woke me up in 2001 when I lived in London. She gave me David Icke's The Biggest Secret, and that kind of started opening up doors for me and getting me asking questions. And that's so Reaney came on and we talked about that, and Aidan came on, and Aidan had a new book out called Dear Plonker. Again, if you can afford to buy it, because he is very good the way he writes the book. I was going to speed read it, but I started enjoying it, so I slowed down, so I never got to finish the book. So I read a couple of chapters, things that were in the book that we already talked to Aidan about anyway. But very interesting. So if you can afford it, buy it. Support Aidan. It's a good read and all his experiences. We then got on Dr. Joseph Cipollone again, just to find out what's going on. I know we have to do another interview this March or April with Dr. Cipollone, because he reckons that's when something's going to happen. People talking about Planet X in March, April. Again, this is information. Don't take it for what it is. And then in November we had the round table, but kind of an Irish round table. We had Ray, we had Martin, and we had Mick. Ray and Martin from PIR. Good evening, lads, if you're tuning in, listening to us. And Mick from Liffey Sound FM. And we just wanted to, again, we interview, as radio hosts, we interview a lot of people. And we just wanted to get together and just have a chat about, what information they had and their perspective on the way things are going at the moment. And again, that was good. The next interview after that was Stephen Manning from Integrity Ireland. Stephen his group are at the cutting edge of challenging the system and the police over here. Really, really cutting edge. They've been threatened, they've been abused, they've been falsely imprisoned. It's unbelievable what they're going through, but they're really at the cutting edge of pushing the legal system and trying to, again, one rule for them, another rule for us. It's just the system's corrupt. It's a cesspit of corruption. It doesn't work, and it's not right the way things are. Yeah, and that man, Stephen Manning, he's been through the ringer. Anyone who listened to that interview or who knows his story knows, I think he's had to move something like 3 times already, because what he's trying to do goes against the grain of the people in the higher echelons of government, and basically they don't want him doing what he's doing, but he basically said to us, he's gone so far, he's not going to back down now, he's going to see it right through to the end, and fair play to him. He does it, and any of his YouTube videos, he does what he's doing. He's just a gentleman. There's no violence, there's no shouting. People may be shouting back at him, but he just tries to get his point across as a gentleman. And we wish Stephen every success in the future. He did say he would come back on again at a later date and let us know how things are progressing. But so if you want to, if you haven't heard the interview, check it out, or even just check him out on YouTube as well. There's a lot of videos up there, and you'll see what he's about. But a gentleman and a scholar, so fair play, Stephen. Look forward to having you on again. Brilliant, and we'll do that again, because we're going to play catch up about what's going on locally as well. Then we had Simon White Rabbit on, who was a branch manager for Coutts, the Queen's Bank, and Simon gave us an update on what he's doing about the actual system itself. Again, if you're into the legal stuff and about the banking system and all that, tune into that show. All these shows are available on our website, and also they're available on YouTube as well. If there's no show there, if there's any problem with the show, let us know, we'll fix it. Then we had Sergeant Daniel Brad McBolan III, who is a friend of Paddy's, and he told us all about ET stuff, that he was involved with MK Ultra when he was young, and he kind of fell through the cracks, and he told us about CERN and a few other things like that, of interest, ETs and all that kind of stuff. Again, great interview, good information from Daniel. Then the next guest we had two guests on, which was last week. We had Catherine Albrecht, was telling us all about when you go shopping, about the information they want, why do you want to give you reward cards like Tesco's and SuperValu and all that, because your information is very important to the big boys in a lot of ways, and also about RFID, and she was involved with the Start Page website to not track you when you start looking for information on the internet. Then we had Danielle Leverity, Danielle started off doing a lot of videos, rants and raves and everything else, and basically then she changed, she got more involved into manifesting and the law of attraction, and realised that all that built up anger that people have is not going to help you in any way. Try and put that energy into something constructive, and use it constructively, like maybe joining a local group like the Hub, like the National Land League, and helping other people, rather than be sitting at home being angry about something. Go and, use that energy and put it into something that's positive. And if you're working with other people, like-minded people, I'll tell you, it's the best buzz you can get. When you go down to Trim Court, I find it very interesting when I go down to Trim Court, and other people from the Hub and the National Land League are there, and we're all there for the same reason. We're there to help people. Egos and personal agendas are pushed aside. Basically, we're just there to help people. And there's no competition between the National Land League or the Hub. We're there to help people. That's the way it is. So, if you really want to get involved and put that anger to good use, put it in a way that you can use the energy to help people in whatever way you can. That's the best way to do it. And of course, the last show of the year, which is what we're on now at the moment, is the open mic, and that's us going through the whole show. I didn't think it'd actually get through the whole schedule, but that's the whole schedule for the year. So that's the annual review of everybody that's been on the show all this year.
No, it's when you look at it and when you see it on the website there, you realise, wow, there has actually been a lot of shows. And I know some people were on a couple of times. It was part 2s and part 3s, but there's a lot of people there with some great information. Again, it's not, everything is not for everyone. There was a lot of people who come on and they did talk about the likes of the ET stuff, the likes of Tolex, say, as an example. And some people tuned into that show and tuned out of that show because it wasn't for them. But again, it's just information. No matter what the subject matter is, we just view it as information. We're not trying to spread the fear porn or anything like that. We're just saying, well, here's an interesting take on something. At the end of the day, you can either tune into, I don't know, insert any TV station name here, and watch some chewing gum for the mind that you can just kind of watch, and you don't really have to use your thought process at all. The grey matter can just sit comfortably there, as it does. But some of the people that we have on and the subject matters that they discuss, it does kind of get you thinking. If it starts making you think, this is ridiculous, I don't believe this, well then that's good, because it's challenging the old belief system. And, the people who did stay with us throughout those shows, I'd say we're probably a little wiser at the end of it, because they probably went off, done a little bit of research, and okay, if you've done a little bit of research and you're still of the same mind, well that's okay as well. But if we've challenged you in any way over the past 12 months, well then that's good, because the belief system is there. It shouldn't be set in stone. It should always be fluid.
Well, funny you should say that, because if you remember, there's a black and white interview by Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee says, be like water. Well, your belief system has to be fluid as well. Now, if somebody challenges your belief system, we've said this time and time again, and you defend it, then you've got a closed mind, because, you know, again, it goes back to the quote from Aristotle: the mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. If you cannot entertain a thought that goes against what you believe, then you have a closed mind, because you're not even opening your mind to the possibility that there might be something different or something more, new information that supersedes the belief system that you have or what you believe. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about next year, and one of the things we're planning, is to be, you know, maybe hooking up with like-minded people who have a fluid belief system. And in all honesty, if you don't have a fluid belief system, there'll be no point kind of getting together, really, because it only end up being getting into an argument, really. Because when you have a closed mind, you end up getting into an argument. You should be able to entertain a thought. We're not saying you have to believe it, but to be able to entertain it. And I've been in groups of people, and I've spoken to people who have fluid belief systems. And when we were on the Paying Genie course, the people all had a fluid belief system, and they weren't afraid of challenging it. And it's such refreshing. It's so refreshing to speak to people that, you know, there's no argument. You know, they're not stuck in a belief. So next year we'll be organising something anyway. And yeah, okay. What about the gender fluid? Well, the fluid is neutral. There's no gender on it. Okay, but so I'd just like to say we've 5 minutes left. A big thank you to all the listeners who listen in on a regular basis, or just tune in, even if it's only 1 or 2 shows. Thanks for tuning in, because there's a lot of radio stations out there, and you could tune into any of them, and for tuning into us, it's much appreciated. And a big thank you for the donations, because without the donations, we can't keep things going. The donations keep the wheels in motion. And the people who've donated over the year, you know who you are. A big thank you for doing that, because you really have not just helped us out, but you've indirectly helped other people out. You might not know about it, because, you know, myself and Steve do stuff in the background, and we don't go around advertising it or anything like that, but we do stuff in the background, and sometimes, you know, 1 or 2 things might require funding, and we do that, and we try and do that. And again, it's thanks to you and your donations. It's just much appreciated, and thanks for tuning in. That's it, really.
Yeah, I suppose it's bringing the year to a close, really, and you know, it has been an interesting year. It's been a colourful year. There's been a lot of things that have come up on the radar. There's a lot of things that have been prophesied, predicted, that have come to pass. You know, there's been a lot of fear, a hell of a lot of fear this year, and you know, we're just, as we mentioned earlier, we just want to say, don't get bogged down with the fear. Don't get stuck in the fear. Learn to you know, what lesson can I learn from the fear? And there's always a solution. There's always a solution. And that's what we're about here. And I know that's what the people on People's Internet Radio are about as well. It's all about finding solutions. None of us want to dwell on the problem. We want to look at the problem and look for a solution. And that's what we want. And I just want to say, as Joan said here, Joan wants to wish everyone a happy new year, to myself and Alan, to Chris Snowflake, agent, and to all my great friends on OIM and PIR, says Joan. And yes, okay, is that, I don't even know if that, is it in the list?
It'd be in the list, as we kind of finish off the evening. And just 2016, onwards and upwards for the new year. And fingers crossed, we hope you all have a good, happy new year. And I hope we can do more next year. And just bring it up. But remember what I say, love is the answer, folks. Doesn't matter what the question is. Love is the answer. Service to others. That's where we're going. Let's move away from ego and ignorance, and let's move towards humility and wisdom. If we can do that, we'd make the world a much better place. Steve?
Yeah, I totally agree. If we can do that, we will make the world a much better place. And again, thanks to everyone who's been with us over the past 12 months. And maybe, you know, we look forward to the next 12 months as well. Because, as we always say, we're just 2 guys with 2 microphones. That's how we started off 5 years ago. And we're still just as humble today as we were 5 years ago. And it's thanks to all the people who are there, who tune into us every week. Not just on OIM and PIR, but around the world on other forms as well. We know this show has been, I don't know if syndicated is the right word, but we have been put up. We have got emails in where people have actually copied their show and put it up on their own websites across the world, and we're still humbled, and we want to thank everyone for that, and wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy 2016.
All right, have a good one. We're going to leave you with this song, and take care. We'll see you in the new year. Bye bye.